Serious, Ludic, Language and Literature Activities by Marili Douzina, teacher at Arsakia School and at Hellenic Open University, Greece. The act of reading and writing for actual teenage students seems to be mostly related to an enforced rather to an enjoyable activity. How can we bridge the gap between reading, writing, and pleasure? How can we de-escalate the students' repulsion towards literature and non-literature text? How can we soften the phenomenon of writer's block towards the empty sheet of paper? The introduction of serious, well-organized, and purposeful playful activities in the language and literature lesson concerning reading and writing seems to be part of the answer to the above questions. Therefore, in this paper are presented applied and evaluated as effective ludic activities of reading and writing in language and literature lesson. The ludic side of literature and its seriousness is well captured in Oulipo's ludic literature propositions, in which are based some of the activities that are described afterwards. Rules, playing, liberation, and creativity characterize Oulipo literature games. The serious assumption of introducing playing into language and literature can be traced in two ludic teaching tools: creative reading and creative writing. Creative reading presupposes the transaction between the reader and the text, and is described as a creative adventure, a poem, an event. The term of aesthetic reading, proposed by Rosenblatt, opposed to efferent reading, describes everything that happens to the reader when he is reading guided by the textual grid. Creative writing can be described in multiple ways. We distinguish three of them: the selection of creative reactions that presupposes the activation of imagination and critical thinking, of reading adequacy and fluctuating freedom, the pedagogical method of teaching the literary text so as to read it a way of literary reading, that is, and a new literature theory based on the writer's view. In order to exploit the ludic side of creative reading and writing in a high school classroom, it is necessary to ensure a safe learning environment, such as a creative and dialogic classroom or a creative workshop. These two types of classroom are presenting afterwards. The ludic approach of text presupposes a creative classroom proof to students' fear. On behalf of the teacher, he is expected to utilize during teaching the non-scheduled micro-moments where the creative contributions of students and the non-expected answers are intense and await to be exploited. He is expected to have the ability to improvise in a disciplined way, to exploit the creative raptures that are provoked in the planned lesson as it is transformed into lessons as lived. The ludic approach of texts also presupposes a dialogic classroom, where the dialogic teacher does not impose, sometimes through his questions, answers to his students, where the dialogic teacher knows the art of questioning and grants them to the students, enough time to respond. What is exactly the transactional creative writing workshop? It's an organism alive, where the students are treated like writers and are put in motion, so as to compose text in a creative and safe frame. In the transactional workshop, the teacher believes in every student's writing ability and acts as an evaluator, but mostly as a collaborator. The transactional workshop aims at liberating the participants to travel through language in such a supportive environment where creativity is a natural outcome. The model of the transactional workshop proposed by Wendy Bishop seems to adjust well and to be productive in high school classrooms. Let's see now some ludic creative reading activities. The ludic creative reading activities that follow have been applied in language and literature teaching in high school classrooms, either in their typical form, that is a classroom consisting of 20-27 students who are taught and evaluated according to the curriculum and the educational laws and rules, either organized in a transactional creative writing workshop. In this case, the workshop consists of a few students, up to 15, that attend it after having freely chosen to participate in this activity, which is not necessarily controlled by the established curriculum. Empty box. In this activity, students are asked to empty their minds from words or images after having read a text. Students are rarely asked of what they saw while reading. Through this activity of revealing the images that were born through the reading activity, students are encouraged to visualize the text, to realize that in this visualization procedure, subjectivity is legalized, as well as to reduce their imagination poverty. Passing notes. The activity of passing notes originates from school life and refers to students' adult life that consists of communicative acts during school day, such as real passing notes. In this ludic activity, the content of passing notes is referring to a text that is read. Students exchange with their classmates in groups of 2 opinions and thoughts released after having read a text, literary or non-literary. A silent text-centered dialogue is settled, and the opportunity is given to every student to deposit his point of view. Pantomime. The introduction of theatrical techniques into language and literature teaching can be fruitful, since texts are embodied and students are activated to interpret or to remodel text into texts of another kind, encouraging creative understanding and experiential learning. During a reading pantomime, students are performing parts of the text, chosen by them or by the teacher through movements, expression, grimaces, etc. The pantomime is a kind of silent, expressive interpretation of the text and a challenge to highlight non-visible or less visible textual folds. Reading scaffolding. Playful reading scaffolding, such as playful worksheets, note diaries, and reading helping papers. For example, a Shakespearean death clock, a character card, mystery activities, etc., which require imagination and playful disposition as far as the teacher is concerned or can involve student in designing them, can maximize the student's reading and writing appetite. Let's see now some ludic creative writing activities. Reversal games. Reversal games consist of reversing, annulling characteristics of the text. These activities are considered to trigger creativity in the word level. It permits to the students to distance himself from the text. Cancelling a text trait such as the use of a metaphor or of a dialogue makes it easier to decipher its function. Overflowing the text. Overflowing a text permits to the students to realize its economy. By reconstructing the text, by adding episodes, or by giving voice to its targeted silences, pendings, or gaps, helps students comprehend the function of the textual absence. A similar activity is the activity of an alternative end to a text or to a story, especially when its natural end is an open one. By altering the text's balance, students can understand the text economy and the non-randomness of the creator's choice. Writing playfully with constraints is a liberating for the creativity activity proposed by Oulipo. In Snowball, students must respect a specific constraint so as to generate a text mainly poetic. The first line must have one letter, the second line 2 letters, the third line 3 letters, and so on. This playful constraint activity, which obliges the students to combine meaning and rules, is a good language exercise. Ladder is also an Oulipian activity to generate text or poems by linking words. It starts with two words, preferably with opposite meanings, each having the same number of letters. The first is placed in the beginning of the text, the other in the end. Gradually, by changing letters and by creating new words, the first word becomes the second one. It's a difficult, provocative struggle with words and meanings. Approaching a text through playful creative reading and writing activities can ascribe a charming tinge in language and literature learning and teaching, and optimize the way students communicate with texts. The proposed playful activities and plenty of others can contribute to the cultivation of reading and writing literacy, as well as of literature and critical literacy. At the same time, students seem to enjoy the reading and writing procedure and to overcome more or less counterproductive reading and writing procedures, such as embarrassment during reading large texts and writer's block. These playful activities presuppose experienced teachers willing to support creative and playful teaching methods, believing in creative and dialogic teaching. In a typical classroom or in a creative workshop, the targeted interference of playful reading and writing activities can, based on experience, transform spectacularly the way students communicate with text. This is a serious case and can be done only in a serious, though ludic way. Thank you.